Okay, so I think we'll get started. We're right on 5:30 and we still have participants joining us. So I'd like to welcome everyone to this webinar where we're going to talk about the innovative Saremco CROWNTEC 3D composite resin printing material for permanent restoration. So we're very fortunate. We've got with us two presenters this evening, although it is morning for Dr. Evers. But before I introduce the speakers, I would just like to just a little bit of housekeeping. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. And what I would like you to do, since you're all on mute, is to enter the questions that you may have in the section just on the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. It's either Q&A or chat. So either one, you can enter your questions there, and then we can address those at the end of the presentation. So I would just like to take a few moments to introduce myself. My name's Belinda Muggleton, and I am a co-founder of Dental Axess, and I am the Director of Sales and Marketing, and I am based in Sydney, Australia. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Christoph Evers. Dr. Evers holds a doctorate in chemistry and is a long-time specialist in dental composites. He's also the head of R&D and QM for Saremco. And also joining him this evening is Mr. Lachlan Thompson. Lachlan is the owner of Omni Dental Ceramics. He has a laboratory in Perth, Western Australia, where he did his training. And also he has a laboratory in Melbourne, in Victoria. Lachlan lectures extensively about digital workflows in the dental laboratory, also implant dentistry and aesthetic dentistry. And he has lectured internationally as well as locally, and also is quite active in the University of Western Australia with regards to ongoing education. So I'd like to hand the presentation over to Dr. Evers, and we will be joining you again at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda, for these warm words. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Christoph Evers, and I'm in the dental business around for over 20 years right now, and I work for different companies. I worked for Voco and was the head of the composite department. Then I switched to Dravi, where I made my first experience with stereolithography and SLA techniques, and then I moved over to Saremco, where I'm the head of R&D and the head of quality management. In this webinar, a short overview about the past, the present, and the future developments of the 3D area, and I hope it will be a short version of all the things what have to be told about 3D printing. First, we have to see that the stereolithography was founded in the early 70s. Research in that area had been conducted during the 1970s, and during the 80s, the first companies were built. For example, 3D Systems or company AOS in 1968. And all these companies were specialized of producing some prototypes. From 2002, the dental sector was involved. This means it was possible to do some dental surgical guides, to do some individual trays, some burnout object forecasting and pressing processes. and models. But all these things were, let's say, something for the specialist, because if you look at the cost of this material, it is not really, let's say, was not really good, because these models and all these things are very expensive. A little bit better seems to be the production of provisional crowns and bridges. But I think with the possibility to do some definite restoration, like a definite crown, I think this whole sector become more and more interesting. I like to say something about Saremco Dental. Saremco Dental was founded in the middle of the 80s. It was let's say a split off of a company called Team, and the founder was the head of the composite department at Coltini, and he had let's say a special agreement with Coltini, where he could not work on the dental area. You have to wait for some years, but after this he made Saremco Dental to a really innovative company. And many things you see that Saremco Dental AG was a pioneer. If you look at typical, let's say, issues for a dental composite, like a spring case, stress, and so on, and Saremco was the first company who has a solution in this area. It is absolutely important to know that we are not a Me Too company. This means if someone else has let's say, a new product, we have, let's say, not the same version. No, this is not our goal. We like to do innovative projects, and especially one point I have to mention. This is the biocompatibility. This means right at the start, we take a lot of care to produce really biocompatible materials. Yeah, getting started, this means, I think in 2014, it was the first time where we looked at 3D printing. In 2004, I have already mentioned that I worked for Drevi, and at Drevi, I think they have contacts to 3D systems and so on, and we worked on SLA project and so on. But the technologically moves fast. DLP printing was possible, and in this case, you see that with the DLP printer you can reduce the working time, and this leads to a really interesting workflow and really low cost procedure. Getting started means also this is, let's say, a typical situation. Our CEO Frank Schmid drives home with a car, and during this drive she listened to the radio, and there was a radio show with Professor Mehl of the University of Zurich, and he talks about his 3D printings and opportunities and so on. And during this radio show, Professor Mehl mentioned that he would like to have a material with really strong properties. And Frank Schmid knows that we have this materials already developed, and so we made a contact with the university, and this was, I think, the starting point of all of these research and these successful cooperation. Here you see a line of 3D printers. All these printers, let's say, have a real short half-life. This means, I think, after 3 years, there will be a new one. and the technology develops very fast, and end of this development is not seeable. This means today it is absolutely possible to print, let's say, a 14-part bridge within, let's say, 55 minutes. And I think that perhaps in 1 or 2 years, we can reduce this time down to 20 minutes or less. Yeah, and this is typical for all 3D printer manufacturer. This means faster, higher, further. And I think we did not reach the end of this development. When you look at this market, you can see that there's a trending to complete systems. It means you have a scanner, a printer, and a Q and a wash device. Here I can show you the devices from Rapid Shape. You see the scanner where you scan the situation in the mouse. With a software, you can prepare your restoration. With the printer, you print it. You have the wash and the cure unit, and everything is done. And if you have a look at the current MDR, the medical device regulation, which has a really deep impact to the complete industry in Europe, they like to have these closed processes. But this, there are some problems with this. Sorry, we have some technical problems, but I think now we can settle again. The price is an important point, because it's absolutely no problem to, let's say, to get a printer for, let's say, 200 euros, or but also possible to buy a printer for 200,000 euros. And this is also one point. I think the printer will get cheaper over the next years, and will be, I think, in the next few weeks, we have the next few years, we will have a standard for these printers, and this will lead to a price reduction. Another important point is the wavelength of a printer. If you look at the US market, you will see you'll find many printers with a 4 or 5 nanometer wavelength. In Europe, I think nearly 90% of the printers have a 384 nanometer printer. We, as a material manufacturer, like the 384, 385 nanometer wavelength more, because this is easier for us to prepare, and we have not problems with color deviation and something like that. Also, another important point is the temperature control. This means if you get started in the morning and you have, let's say, around 18 degrees Celsius in your lab, and during a typical, let's say, print of a denture or whatever, you will see that the temperature rises of the resin, and this is an issue because you have different conditions during the polymerization. And therefore, I think it is very important that future models of the 3D printer should have a temperature control, because it leads to better results and to constant results. Here we go for the printing material, and you see there are a lot of manufacturers which are produce or prepare some solution for different dental applications. And yeah, you can go for model materials, splint materials, provisional crown bridge, but I think with a definitive material, so with a definite indication, there is the main point when these materials get really lucrative. I have to mention something about the splint materials. This was a hype, I think, for around, I think, 4 years. With the possibility to print a splint with a 3D printer is very amazing, but the materials has not the real, let's say, properties to compare with the one you produce with in a classical way. So therefore, I think there have to be some developments in this area to prepare some splints who are really, yeah, let's say, comparative. Saremco has also 3D resins. We have the CROWNTEC material and the DENTURETEC material on the market. We can show for the CROWNTEC material some publication with the University of Zurich. They did a test for a lifetime of 5 years of this crown. And if you look at this publication, which is available on our homepage, you can see that the material is even better than the typical all ceramic materials like the one from Vita or the one from other companies. And you can say within this publication, you see they use different layers. This means, or layer sizes. This means even crowns with a layer of just around 0.5 millimeters are still working with, or are still okay after a chewing simulation of 5 years. And this is, I think, really amazing. We have also another publication done with the University of Zurich. In this publication, we show that the definitive 3-part bridges printed with an ASIGA printer is still good after 5 years, and I think we are the first company who did such a publication. Our materials are presented in a 500 milliliter bottle, which means this is from the point of the price also attractive. With CROWNTEC, it is possible to do or to create definitive crowns, inlays, onlays, and veneers. Also, provisional crowns and bridges are possible. Artificial teeth are possible. We have very good experience with the ASIGA Max UV. In our opinion, the best printer on the market. We had good results with rapid shape printers. And yeah, you can see we have a flexural strength about 140 micropascal. And this is, I think, the strongest material on the market. Here we have a comparison with our competitor, with the Vaseo Smile Crown Plus from Bego, and you see we have, regarding the flexible strength, our material is around, yeah, let's say 30% better than the Vaseo Smile Plus. Here I have a small video how to work or how to prepare. And after the print, you see we can remove easily these crowns we have printed. And yeah, later on, we can show you the typical way how to prepare and how to clean these. Here you see how we remove the supports And for us, it is very important that you clean this restoration by hand. We see when we use a typical wash unit, and this means we put our restoration in isopropanol for a pre-wash of 2 minutes and the second wash of 3 minutes. It weakens the physical properties. This means we lost about 30% of the physical properties, and this is, I think, not a good thing to do. So here you see the typical, what you see when you use a wash unit, the white layer or the white shade on these restoration are typical for filled materials. This is a filler, what you see after the cleaning process. And when you clean it by hand, you will not see these fillers. And here we have an example for a restoration which was too long in a wash unit. And after this, I think it's around 30 minutes. And you see there are some cracks in the surface. And this is, of course, not good for such a restoration. So we say, or we like to, or we say in our instruction of use that you have to clean the restoration by hand. Another important point is fastening. We have tested this with Variolink from Ivoclar and Panavia from Korai, and I think these are the most common composite cements all over the world. And this is not a problem to work with this material, and this fits. We have studies over 5 years with these materials, and we have no problems or we see no problems with the fastening. The preparation technology is important. You have to roughen the inner surface of the crown with corundum, and after this you can prepare as usual. This means you put the cement into on the inner surface of the crown, and you can fix it. It's very simple and easy. If you have some, let's say, some problems and you think, yeah, from the point of preparation, then you can also prepare some undercuts into the crown, and with these undercuts, it's absolutely safe to work with this crown. DENTURETEC is another material, and this is for denture base, especially for interim prosthesis. It has a high flexural strength in combination with a real low E modulus. This means you have on the one side the strength, and on the other side from the E modulus the elasticity. It is an ideal addition to CROWNTEC, and at the moment it works for all ASIGA printers with 385 nanometers. This was a typical thing what, let's say, chemists do. They prepare things, and in the next step they try to destroy it. And I think if everything works fine, we are able to show you a video where we drive with a car over such a dental prosthesis, and you see that after this the dental prosthesis is still okay, and this shows how good this material is. Okay, and we think this is a game changer. Besides the combination, this means the combination of DENTURETEC and CROWNTEC. With this combination, you are able to produce a complete denture, a full denture, and this was one of the, let's say, the starting dreams when we 2014 started this project. And here you see the typical workflow. This means you prepare the artificial teeth and the denture paste, and everything works real nice, and it fits together This is absolutely amazing. Yeah, this means it's possible to get prosthesis from the 3D printer. And another very important point, we are working on a 3-unit bridge in the posterior area. This means I think we will be the, or I have to say it in a different way. We were the first company who get an approval for a single crown on the market. And I think we will be the first company who will get an approval for a 3-unit bridge in the posterior area on the market. And I think with this material, it will be possible, yeah, like when you remember what how things are going with the Saremco system, I think this will be in the same way. Saremco also started with a single crown, but I think after, if in case they have these 3-unit bridge, everyone wants to buy a Saremco system. For the 3-unit bridge, it is not easy to, let's say, to get an approval for such a material like this, because the notified body are really aware of things, and you have to really check all the things around these application. Today there's a clinical study at the University of Istanbul, and we have already some first pictures of these restoration for permanent restoration, and all the bridges which are now in the mouth of the patient are complete good, and the patient are really satisfied with this material. And yeah, I hope that within the next 2 months we have the approval, and I think this will be also a very huge success for Saremco. And this is something what I have already mentioned. We will do an aligner. Usually this is not our thing, because we try to do innovative materials, but we see that on the market there is not really a good material for an aligner. These things, all the materials we have seen at the moment have disadvantages. This means after 2 months they break, and this is, I think, very uncomfortable for the patient. And so we started this project, and I hope within 2 months we have also a liner that has the properties, also the same properties as you in comparison with the one you prepared by hand. So, and now I'd like to switch over to Lachlan. He will present some case studies, and yeah, Lachlan, it's your turn.
Thanks, Christoph. Yeah, I think broadly it's pretty exciting where this material is sort of taking the industry, and particularly for us, we saw a really big opportunity for full arch rehabs. And to give everyone a bit of background, we do quite a few full arch implant bridges. So when we saw this material, we saw an opening to go from a milled restoration. So we were milling all our teeth in one block and then processing traditionally with gum acrylic around a titanium frame. So we sort of saw an opportunity to be able to reduce our manufacturing time and hopefully get something that was aesthetically as good for the patient and structurally sound as what we're offering. So we went through quite a few different tests through the process. We started just by milling, I guess, going through the workflow as we normally would with our existing PMMA. So we would mill our titanium frames, and then we went down the line of trying to do these bridges in two parts. So we 3D print the pink, as you can see, as well as 3D printing the teeth. So we'd be using 3-shape denture module for the setup here. So we define in 3-shape that we want to have these parts separated for the cam when we put it into the printer. So this was one of the early cases that we did. This is, you can see on the right hand side, the material comes out a little bit yellow as soon as you take it off the printer, and that gets lighter as you go through the curing process. As Christoph mentioned, if you stick it in the alcohol for a while, you get you sort of get this white sort of powdery surface on the print. So out of the alcohol, this is what they would look like. We'd sandblast and take all the supports away and then fit them together. We sort of went back and forward with which side we want facing up, and you know, effectively which side we want the sprues on with these. So now when we're printing these teeth, we're actually printing them incisal edge down, so that we have a nice clean socket to go into the pink base. And the good thing about this CROWNTEC material is that the definition on the incisal edges is really good. So you get, even if you have the supports on it, you can, as long as you're careful trimming off the supports, you don't lose that definition on the incisal edges. So now when we get to this stage, we're able to just sort of click them together, and the fit is really, really good. So then the next stage was sort of putting all three parts together. So we have a milled frame, and this is an absolutely insane case to try this on, which is why we wanted to do it. But we have a really small maxilla, and we wanted to try to lever off it as much as possible. And it would be a bulky restoration. So it was going to be interesting to see how it all worked out. So we have the milled frame, the pink tissue and the teeth, and then we do is opaque the bar. So we just use I can't remember exactly the brand, but we use a composite sort of light cured opaque. I think it's an Ivoclar material that goes over the bar. And then you can see sort of once you start sandblasting the material, the printed material, it starts looking a little bit more like it should in terms of color and the fit. So that's with no color on anything. That's just purely sandblasted base material and sandblasted teeth. And then we'd effectively slide the material on, and we'd pour some, or actually get a brush and pour some of the denture base resin, put it in the lid effectively, get a brush, wipe it inside the base material on the bar, and set everything together. So we'd light cure. We've tried a couple of different ways to do it. The most effective way that we've worked out is effectively spot curing the teeth in, making sure the bar isn't sort of interfered with any curing or excess material, and then curing the bar in separately, because we sort of have to balance the depth cure. You know, we have a light cured material, so we only get a certain amount of light getting inside the restoration. So we sort of want to make sure the whole lot's cured as we go. So that's sort of what they come out cured. A little bit of polish on the interface between the titanium and the base material, and that's the final result. So obviously still need to polish the titanium, but effectively that's a little bit of GC OptiGlaze over the teeth and the gums, but it comes out really nice. And you sort of, when you're using this OptiGlaze, the material seems to absorb it quite nicely, and then you can polish it, and it comes out really nice and homogeneous. very easy to shade as well. So then we had some cases that just didn't have enough space for the two-part tissue. And you can see this material is a slightly different color. We put some pressure on Christoph to make some white material for the patients that wanted a Hollywood look. So we got some snow white material, and this is what it looks like. So it comes out a little bit green. It almost looks like it glows in the dark. And then as you cure it, it gets whiter. So this is just the tooth material, and then there's a slot in that for the bar. So again, milled bar. And then the GC OptiGlaze, and we used a composite material for the gum, which you can characterize in, you know, for each patient case. And here are just a couple of other cases that we've had going on. And, you know, a lot of the time this has been a learning experience as we've gone through the process, but I think the results sort of speak for themselves. The stuff looks really nice. It's very comparable to a traditional sort of setup or milled material. Here's a case that we've done. We are using it for quick turnaround and a sort of also for a interim until, you know, maybe the patient wants to go to a zirconia hybrid sort of framework. So we can use these for interims as well. And it's not a massive deal. If something is to break, then it's not like we're having to set up, you know, a full set of teeth and process the whole thing. It's a lot quicker to manufacture as well. So we're seeing a lot of opportunity for the material in that sense. Yeah, so I think you know, what we found, we've probably done about, I'd say close to 30 arches, maybe between 20 and 30 arches. The rate, I think we've had one case that had a fracture on it, and I think that's actually come down to more of our post-processing and not having properly cured material around the titanium. It's, again, that depth of cure of the light curing material. So in terms of looking back at our success with it, it's been really promising. So yeah, as we continue to go, I'm sure that experience will have a bit more depth to sort of be able to share, but so far it's been really good. So Belinda, I'll leave you to this one.
Thanks, Lachlan. Of course, Dental Axess, we do support the Saremco materials, the 3D materials. You can find them in our web shop, or you can simply call us in the office. Right now, we do have a promotion, so it's 25% discount off the CROWNTEC material, as well as the DENTURETEC materials. So have a look on the web shop or give us a call. And also, if you have any questions about any of the elements of the workflow, whether it's questions about the 3D printers, a SIGA, the Max UV, or the Pro 4K, or also the Rapid Shape printers, also give us a call regarding those. We do support those printers as well. I'm sure, David, we've got some questions for Lachlan and Christoph. Have any come through? I actually will kick off with one question, Christoph. When it comes to the clear aligner material, so that's going to be a 3D printed clear aligner material?
Yes. We'll have a material which has, let's say, which has a real high impact strength, and this will, yeah, we had already some absolute excellent results in our lab, but we have to test it with some test dentists and test patients. And after this, I think around 2 months, we are able to provide such a material. This is a 3D printed material.
Right, that's exciting. David, do we have any other questions from the participants?
No, at the moment there are no open questions or some sort of other words. So in my opinion, if there are any questions or other things which are open, feel free to contact Saremco directly, or also Dental Axess, of course. If there are any open questions, we'll give you the information. And this webinar will be recorded, and afterwards you will receive a link to the recording of the webinar. That's all. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank Christoph and Lachlan for your time, and certainly for some fantastic insights into this unique material. And also, Lachlan, the cases look fantastic. So congratulations on that. As David mentioned, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to Dental Axess directly, or obviously Saremco. And yes, this webinar has been recorded, and you will find it on the Dental Axess YouTube channel. Take a look at that, or pass the link on to your colleagues. So I wish you all a good evening and a good morning to Christoph and David and Patricia. Yes, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.